Can we do a screen share? Can I do that? It says the screen sharing is disabled. Maybe we should stop the recording for a second and I'll figure out. Good morning. Okay, so this morning I'm going to continue talking about the Oxfording pictures, which you see on the screen. And you know, in early June, I started talking about this is the last lecture I gave on the Oxfording pictures. So I thought that what I would do is kind of review them for everybody so that you know, it's been a while. Maybe you don't remember the talks, although they're all on Zoom. So if you want to watch the initial talks, you can do that. Okay, so what you see here is on the screen share. The first one you see is this young person here who represents a practitioner starting out in practice. So in number one, the practitioner kind of doesn't even know what they're looking for, but they're carrying like a little whip and a rope so that whenever they're ready for whatever happens, if they see what they're looking for, they'll be able to grab it. So that's what's happening in the first picture. Now in the second picture, you can see these little ox hoof prints going up on the side of the picture there. And he's, of course, in these pictures, it's a he, but in real life, it can be anyone, right? So this person is running after the footprints, holding aloft their little rope, and they've got their whip, so they're ready to go. And then, but they still don't exactly know what it is that they're looking for, but they can tell by the hoof prints that maybe they found the path, maybe they figured out something. So this is akin to when, before we start to do formal practice, that we're looking for something. And most of us, when we're doing this kind of seeking, we read books, we listen to lectures from different traditions, etc. We have our friends we talk to about things. But of course, because these are the 10 Oxfording pictures, they are about finding Zen, not becoming Sufi, for example, or something like that. So here, it's a little biased in that regard. So here we have the practitioner who's finally got a glimpse of what it is that they think is going to be helpful to them to end their suffering. In the third picture, I love the fact that this practitioner sees the backside of the ox, not the head of the ox, but the backside of the ox. And in this picture, actually, the person looks maybe a little askance. I don't know if they're looking that way or excited, but anyway, they think they found what they're looking for, but they're still holding on to their little whip and their lasso. But now they've seen the bull, and now in the next picture, in the fourth picture, they're chasing after the bull. And in this picture, it looks like they've actually managed to lasso the bull. But as you can see here, the bull is not cooperating. So some people interpret the bull as being realization or your true nature. I think in these pictures, maybe the bull represents our small self, the part of us that, yeah, maybe not, we're too not on board with this. And we want to do this practice, we want to engage in the practice, but actually practice is pretty hard, right? When we start doing Buddhist practice, all of a sudden we're faced with all the things that we don't do very well and the things that we're unskillful about, and we don't understand it. And we're reading stuff that we don't understand, or we don't understand it correctly. And so it can be quite a struggle when we first start practicing, or we start doing formal practice and we're sitting zazen and it's uncomfortable, it's painful, we're not too happy with it. A couple of times when Jaku and I've been at New Leaf, we've run into somebody not anybody in particular that I can remember there who they were, but a couple of times we'll run into people who come to Ocean Gate for, a couple of times. And they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't come back to the Zendo, but it's interesting. I always feel the need to tell us why they haven't come to this, that they have to be apologetic about it. I haven't come to the Zendo because, well, I guess can't stop thinking during Zazen. So this comes from this erroneous idea that somehow we're supposed to stop our thoughts, but that's not the instruction for Zazen. It might be for a different kind of meditation, but it's not for Zazen. So in that way, that's a kind of initial misunderstanding that keeps us from practicing at all. We have this preconceived idea about it. We don't tell anybody what we think. I mean, what we tell the teachers at the grocery store, which is not the perfect venue for receiving Dharma teachings in the aisle at New Leaf. So it's a struggle. And then once we get more involved in it, maybe it's hard to get to Zazen, and that's difficult for us, but we make that effort and we get ourselves there. Or maybe we're in the Sangha and we're having difficulties with other people, and that's hard. And, it's just one thing after another. And so practice kind of puts us in this chute of trying to negotiate or understand what it means to be a human being in this world. I mean, really, I think that's what practice is about. How can we be a human being in this world in which we actually can engage our life with others, because we do live with others? How do we do this with others in a way that's skillful, and we can alleviate our own suffering and the suffering of others and people and other beings as well? So I think, that this picture, number 4, is really a good picture to see the struggles that we have in practice. And okay, so in the next picture, which I believe is where I'm going to start here, is number 5. So in number 5, we see this person leading the ox home. So they've come to some kind of rapprochement, if you will, with the struggles that they've had in practice, and they kind of feel like they've got a grip on what's going on, and they feel like the part of themselves that's been resistant has gotten with the program, if you will, and things are going really well, and now they are supposedly going towards number 7, which is their hermitage or their home. So they're walking home, or walking along this path of practice with that part of themselves that's been pretty resistant up to this point, capitulating, being willing to go along. But the verse for this says, let drop neither whip nor line even a moment, lest the ox wander back to dust and desire. So dust is a reference to delusion. So, okay, things are going really well, but we must be vigilant. And I think of that as when we are really paying attention to what's going on, things go pretty well. But as soon as you're not paying attention, or you get broadsided by something, then all of a sudden you kind of find out where your practice needs some work. So, I like to talk about driving, and that I'm an impatient driver. So the other thing about these pictures is, I think after like number 5 or 6 onward, you might be going back and forth into these same lanes. You might be over on the number 10, which is bringing the Dharma, bringing the Dharma to the marketplace, or bringing it, being a teacher, or someone who's has some maturity in practice. And you may find yourself all the way back to number 4, you're committed to practice. So, I drive my car, I'm impatient, and my impatience rises up, and sometimes it comes down. So I'm back at number 4 of, oh gosh, okay, take a deep breath, get a grip. It's okay. Even if you got what you wanted, you'd only get there 3 minutes faster. Is it really worth causing suffering to yourself and others because you're going to get where you want to go 3 minutes faster than you might have gotten there otherwise? Or, okay, they've just torn up all the lanes of SoCal and you could have gone another way, but you chose this way to go. And here you are. Take a deep breath, turn on the radio, chill. No, if you change lanes, you will not get there faster. So, you know, it's like that, of just this way of sometimes you have to go back, and then other times you're like, really, you're like picture number 6. You're on the aux, you're riding home, you're playing a flute, things are great, dancing along, everything's wonderful, you know. So I think we go back and forth. It's not like this progression where once you've done this thing, you'll never, some things once you've done, you'll never revisit them again. Some things, once you've worked it out, you got it. Some other things seem baked in, you know, to your genetic makeup that you're going to have to keep coming back and working with whatever that is. So the verse is, let drop neither whip nor line, even a moment, lest the ox wander back to dust and desire. Tame this bull, and it will be pure and gentle. Without fetters or chain, of itself it will follow. So the things that we do transform, that aspects of ourself that is transformed. And some things might take a long time, you know, to make that transformation. But when it happens, you got it. You know, you don't need to keep revisiting that particular thing. As a matter of fact, you'll probably completely forget about whatever that was. And Genjo Koan Dogen says, realization beyond realization. Realization beyond realization is this place where we don't have to think about realization anymore. We just are responding in a way that's realized. We're just engaging in actualized action. So for example, at the grocery store, somebody doesn't have enough hands, if you will, to be able to open the door because they filled with maybe milk bottles they're returning. You just walk up and open the door for them. That's realized action. That's realization beyond realization. You didn't even think about it. You just help this person. Somebody drops something, you pick it up, you hand it to them. It's like, we should not assume that this realization beyond realization is some kind of special state where we have some halo or something, or we're glowing or something like that. Where does all of this practice enact itself? It enacts itself in our everyday life. So when we do things like this in our everyday life, that's realized action. And when we do them without even thinking about it, this is realization beyond realization. In this case, in number 6, because we're on 6 and there's 10 ox herding pictures, clearly this person has not gotten out of the woods yet. So while they may think that they are gleefully riding the ox, playing the flute, in actuality, things are not quite as wonderful as they might think that they are. But the next line, and this, now I'm back to number 6, the number, 5. The next line is, let drop neither whip nor line even a moment, lest the ox wander back to dust and desire. So we did that one. Tame the bull, and it will be pure and gentle, again, without fetters or chain, of itself it will follow. So that I've already said something about that. So let's go on to the 6th picture. So again, here he is on the ox playing the flute, no rope, no whip. Everything seems to be going along really well. The ox seems to know exactly what the practitioner wants to do. It doesn't seem to be a problem. They're just kind of going along together without any kind of conflict. Now, this picture, number 6, goes with number 7. So number 7 it shows a kind of complacency in this person's practice, which being complacent is not a good thing. So practice is endless. Practice goes on endlessly, as Dogen says. And the reason practice goes on endlessly is because as long as you're alive, every situation that presents itself is an opportunity to practice. So every situation that we encounter, we have to bring forward this mind of practice. And the mind of practice, Dogen talks about practice realization as one thing. So we do not practice to become some kind of end game called realization. We practice as an expression of our understanding. Our practice and understanding are intimately connected to each other. So we do this practice, and sometimes we do the practice reluctantly. Sometimes we do it having to work at it. Sometimes we just do it, like picking something up for somebody. We don't even think about it. We don't say to ourselves, oh, I just picked this thing up for this person who dropped it and I'm practicing. We don't say to ourselves, oh, this is realization. We just do it. And that is practice, this practice. So it goes on endlessly. It's like all through your day, all through your life, we are using and engaging practice. And that using or engaging practice is not different from realization, which realization is this way that we understand that we have this interconnected relationship, this co-beingness with everything. And out of that co-beingness comes compassion. Out of that co-beingness, which is another way to talk about the doctrine of emptiness, out of that co-beingness comes this way that we have empathy for each other. And because we have empathy, we pick something up that someone drops. If we had no connection, if we had no interbeingness, if you will, to use some highfalutin language, if we had none of that, maybe it wouldn't even occur to us. Why would we pick something up for somebody? Because, it's like, it would be just like, oh, that thing happened. It has nothing to do with me. We pick something up because we know what it's like to drop something and have our hands full, and how much we appreciate the fact that somebody picks it up for us and hands it back to us. We do that. That's empathy. That is embodying reality itself, which is this interconnected co-functioning of everything, making this world, as Dogen says, worlding the world. So that's what our compassion, that's where compassion comes from. And that compassion is not different than the no inherently existing self, which is this recognition of the self as completely connected with all beings. Okay. So it's like all of that is functioning. So I would say in the picture number 6 and 7, and number 7, he's sitting there in his little hut, outside his little hut there, looking at the moon. Usually the moon in Zen represents realization or enlightenment. Everything is really comfortable. I don't know, I guess it's a full moon night. Maybe on the other side, he's got a cup of tea, little, treats there. He's sitting there kind of leaning against that rock, looking at the moon. The crickets are, going. It's like everything is absolutely sweet. It's just the best. Calm. Well, but he's all by himself. This person, this practitioner is all by themselves. They're not relating to anyone. They're just kind of moon gazing. So this is a kind of complacency in practice. This is a way where we think that we have got it all. We think we've figured it out, and we don't need to do any more work. We can just bask in the joys of our own enlightenment, all by ourselves. And we can also apply this to Zazen. I remember at Tassajara when I was Shiso, I was having a tea. You have tea with all the students at the practice period, and I remember this one student, a young guy, and basically what he said is, I have great Zazen. I'm, in these amazing states of mind, and that's all I need. Like, he clearly thought that he was in an enlightened state, because that was his criteria for enlightenment, was having great periods of Zazen. It didn't have anything to do with relating to other people. It didn't have anything to do with this unrelentingness. It's like, it's great when no one pushes on you. When you're at home and you have some tea or whatever it is that you like to drink, maybe you drink a glass of wine in the backyard, maybe you're with your best friend, everything's great, everybody's agreeing with each other, or you're by yourself and your dog's there, your cat's there, and whatever it is. And you're sitting there and it's like, oh man, oh yeah, this is so nice. Oh, I could just like stay here. My next door neighbor's gone, so I don't have to deal with them. It's like, so that's great. We should be able to do that every once in a while, but to think that our life is going to be like that all the time and that we don't ever have to deal or and when we do deal with other people, it's their fault. Well, hey, I got this. You are clearly the problem. You're the person who's causing problems for me. I have nothing to do with what is going on in this situation. So I would say, that's what's going on in picture number 7. And then I'm not going to talk about 8 and 9, but they go together as well. So next time I'll talk about 8 and 9. Okay, thank you very much.